Hey everybody, it's Marilyn Wilson from RE Technology, and I'm here today with a really fun group of people. We're going to talk about the Broker Public Portal movement, with featuring HomeSnap, so we can tell you all about what the buzz is all about. There's so much good stuff happening on this initiative. I'm really excited to be part of this and to share it with you. So let me introduce our panelists today. We've got some really fun people to tell you all about this. All right, so let me introduce our panelists today. We've got Steve Barnes, who's the president and co-founder of HomeSnap, and they've done some amazing work in the mobile space and in the online marketing space. He's going to tell us all about that in a little while. Welcome, Steve. Next, we have Tom Hurtelbrink, who's the president and CEO of Northwest MLS, and many of you from the MLS community probably know Tom. He's very well respected, has done a lot of great work, worked for lots of great companies in the industry over the years. Then we have Jeff Lasky, the COO of Midwest Real Estate Data, or MRED as many people call it, and he has been really involved with HomeSnap on a variety of different initiatives and has been in the industry. I'm sure many of you know him as well. And then finally, last but certainly not least, we have John Deely. He's the principal managing broker for Coldwell Banker Bain, one of the largest Coldwell Banker franchises in the country, based in Seattle, and he's going to tell us kind of more from a broker perspective about why does he really think this thing makes sense and why it's something that we should all be taking a serious look at. So let's just do a little bit of logistics and housekeeping, and then I'm going to turn it over to Steve. So if we can go to the next slide. All right, so let's just start at the beginning. What started this whole broker public portal movement? It's been around for a while now. And there's a lot of, I guess, angst would be the best word I would use for it. But there was brokers really came together on this thing because they said they saw things happening where, if, for example, the ever increasing online advertising costs. And we've done research at Wave Group several times and have found out that many agents feel like there's very minimal ROI on that. And yet, in many markets, they're spending $5, $10, $15, as much as $20,000 per month. And in fact, there was a statistic listed in, as an example, in Zillow's last quarterly earnings report, that the number of agents in America that are spending $5,000 or more with them is up 58%. So it's costing agents more and more money, and it's costing brokers more and more money to basically take the listings that they've curated and then give them to third parties who sell them back that exposure to their leads. And there was just a lot of brokers around the country that said, why can't we work together to try to provide something that's an addition to that idea? Maybe there's something we can do. So that's really how this whole thing started. And so some brokers also, it depends on every broker looks at the world differently, obviously, but some believe that they're competing directly for business with brokers. The third parties are really starting to weaken their value proposition. And they said, again, isn't there a way that we can work together to try to get some of that value proposition back and to help our our agents understand that we're serious about helping them generate listing exposure and leads and things like that. And we know that agents want to support their clients and prospects throughout the life cycle of real estate, not just when they're buying and selling. And a lot of the marketing programs out there today really focus a lot on just during the actual part of the process when you're actually actively engaged. So again, broker said, isn't there something we can do to help agents, create a sort of a life cycle of a relationship and not just something while they're actively buying and selling? And then, finally, and certainly not at the bottom of the list by any means, consumers really deserve the site that's built for their needs and not for advertisers' needs. And so the Broker Public Portal Group said, can't we find a way to do something that really works for what consumers want? They want to type in a search criteria and get exactly what they need, not what someone else is trying to push to them. And they want to work directly with the person that knows the most about the home and not someone else that's trying to, siphon off a lead from them. So the initiative really was, designed to help for all of those different reasons, to say there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a way for us, the people that know real estate better than anyone else, to be able to, to work together to create some sort of a national effort. And so that's what they did. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Steve Barnes, and he's the expert on really how the program works, and he can talk about that. Then we're going to talk to Tom and to John and to Jeff about what's happening in the local market, so you can understand direct from a broker and MLS perspective on how this thing really works for them. Okay. So with that, Steve, I'll turn it over to you, and then just let me know when you want me to switch the slides, and I will take care of it for you.
Great. Thanks, Marilyn. It's great to be part of the webinar today. And let me first say that HomeSnap is incredibly honored and grateful to be the partner of the Broker Public Portal. This was an initiative that really started several years ago, where leaders within the industry from the broker world and the MLS world came together for many of the reasons that Marilyn just stated, and decided they really needed to form a portal that was for the people and run by the people who sell homes and not ads. That's the phrase we like to say. And at the core of this portal, one of the foundational elements for this portal is that it would follow what are known as fair display guidelines. And at its simplest, what that means is that when a consumer looks at a listing and has an inquiry about a listing, that inquiry will exclusively go for free to the listing agent or broker. So that was the foundation, the primary rule by which the portal would be guided. After a fairly exhaustive search by the Broker Public Portal that included an RFP process, HomeSnap emerged as the partner and the public-facing brand for the portal. And the concept again was to have an industry-friendly alternative to the large national listing portals that again were run by people concerned about ads and seem to be morphing and changing year by year to be less friendly towards the industry. The Broker Public Portal is run by a board of managers comprised of leading brokers and MLSs from all shapes and sizes. So they're large brokers, small brokers, large MLSs, small MLSs. The BPP is governed by the industry, board of managers made up, as I said, of industry participants. The joint venture agreement that was signed between the Broker Public Portal and HomeSnap, when they chose HomeSnap to be their partner, ensures in perpetuity, or for as long as anyone can imagine, that the rules by which the portal operates will be industry friendly, and the governance structure of that public facing presence will be industry majority. So something that's very different from the other portals. Okay, next slide. We've talked about the strategic reasons and the inspirations for the BPP, and they're reinforced here. What we've always said is that there needs to be a combination of strategic motives and practical reasons why MLSs and brokers would get behind this movement. So the movement I've described and the momentum is off the charts. It's beyond what we all expected. HomeSnap, which is the brand of the BPP, is now at 900,000 agents. And that's how we count it. What that means is MLS is accounting for 900,000 agents, which is practically a national footprint, are participating. And so this is, by all measures, a national brand at this point. And we want to close out the rest of the country, but we're well along the way. We also wanted to include in our offering practical benefits for all those participating. So there needed to be tools for brokers, benefits for the MLS, and I'll get into detail more later in the presentation, but this combination of strategic reasons and practical benefits was very important for the offering. The reason why HomeSnap was chosen, the BPP had a variety of options. They could build something from scratch, which for those of you on the call who know a lot and know something about building apps and websites and doing it on a national scale, it's quite expensive. So we had a head start. We had built products for both consumers and agents, and so we had a head start. And we had already committed to a path that was industry friendly. So we were already embracing the idea that, and the concept, very important, that we would partner and have rules that favored the industry. So we had already set ourselves up to do most of what the portal, Broker Public Portal initiative was all about. So we became the natural selection, and we were grateful to emerge at the end of the RFP process. Just want to give you a brief timeline of HomeSnap and how we've evolved. We initially launched a consumer app and website in 2012. In 2014, we launched HomeSnap Pro as an agent-specific version of HomeSnap. The reason we did that is that we found that agents were really hungering for that. In fact, we found that many agents were using our consumer products because there wasn't something available to them when they were out in the field to do their job. So we took the consumer app and gave it what we call superpowers, meaning we injected it with all sorts of agent-only data and productivity features that would help agents, particularly when they're out in the field. We quickly grew HomeSnap Pro to a 200,000 agent footprint. And then in 2016, as the broker public portal concept emerged, MRED, and Jeff's on here, and they're the Chicago MLS, they got behind as the first MLS this concept of the broker public portal. Very shortly thereafter, it was the relationship between the BPP and HomeSnap was formalized in the joint venture I've been speaking about, and that included a refresh of homesnap.com. So at launch, we had already existing well-known apps. We had a professional app for agents. That's really important because the two apps talk to each other. We had leading MLSs, and in particular MRED, who had already stepped up saying they want to join. In fact, they did join right away. And so the table was set. And that is why we've been quickly able to grow to where now there's 160 plus MLSs that use HomeSnap. That represents 900,000 agents. Very recently, just a few months back, HomeSnap attracted an investment of $14 million to continue to build out our industry-friendly platform. And this has emerged as a real valuable product in the marketplace, generating since its launch over 1 million free leads to agents already. One of the things we talk about when we're talking to MLSs and their brokers, and specifically to their board of directors, is the power of a national brand, particularly in the environment we're in today with consumers. Most MLSs have a local presence with a website or perhaps even an app, but the way that consumers are finding properties is really different than it was 5-10 years ago. And so HomeSnap has a national brand. As a national app, we receive coverage quite a bit, and we're featured regularly both in the App Store with Apple and in Google Play. So as a national brand, we get that exposure. And as we've rolled up now and have all MLSs participating, they benefit from getting behind that BPP brand, which is HomeSnap. And it's something that as a local brand would be virtually impossible to do, meaning, the App Store, Apple would not feature a single local app to promote in their App Store. And we get that consistently. The other thing we're doing, which is something that is something you do nationally, which is very hard to do locally, is we are making a major investment in search engine optimization, which I'm sure everyone here is familiar with what that is. And we've engaged and are spending literally hundreds of thousands of dollars with Merkle, a leading SEO consulting firm. And what they do is they make technical recommendations so that we can, over time, gradually build up more and more organic search traffic. Everyone knows what happens now when consumers go to search. They put in an address or an area, and the national brands show up. So we are investing to compete for that. And again, that is something with a national brand that is possible that would not necessarily be very easy with a local brand. So I referenced before that we wanted to make sure in the BPP offering that there were benefits for all those involved. We have the strategic, which I've gone over already, but now I want to talk more and more about the practical benefits. One thing that I should mention at the top is one of the biggest benefits, and we're talking practically, meaning has actual value, that might not be seen very clearly and readily clearly to brokers and MLSs, is all those free leads that we send out to listing agents and brokers. the value of a real estate lead in the open market is not cheap. It can be anywhere from $25 to $100. These are inquiries coming from consumers directly off listing pages. And so those get spread out in the marketplace to those that receive them. So that's an important thing to factor in that isn't necessarily apparent right away to MLSs. So we want to make sure also that MLSs and brokers get their immediate benefits and as well, and tangible benefits. And so we of course provide the app that follows fair display guidelines. The MLS gets that. We provide them with a dashboard so that they can track how agents and their clients and consumers on a higher level are using HomeSnap and the BPP. Big value here is every agent, every subscriber in the MLS gets HomeSnap Pro for free. This is the leading agent app in the marketplace. It's top rated in the App Store and Google Play. Everyone gets that for free. And very, very important, it's one platform, so it's connected to the consumer side of HomeSnap and to their clients. So anytime they receive an inquiry from a consumer on one of their listings or one of their clients reaches out to them, all that communication and all the productivity work back and forth can be done through HomeSnap Pro, which is free to all subscribers. To the extent we have any agent premium products we develop for agents as part of HomeSnap Pro, we have a small revenue share back to the MLS. We will also do for free the work on MLS system integrations, which we will touch on a little later. And that simply means that we will integrate between HomeSnap Pro and your MLS software system some of the things that agents need to do from the field. The last thing is MLS consumer-facing website support. What that means is if you have a legacy MLS public-facing site that has some value, but you're not sure you want to keep it going forward, but there is some built-up value in it, and you'd rather support the BPP, we don't think you should have to choose. And so what we offer is that you, if you want, will keep your domain and the value built up there. Call it anytownmls.com, whatever the name of your local public-facing site is, and we will power it with HomeSnap technology. So you maintain that traffic. So in that sense, you would have a local and national presence. You would have for free the support of HomeSnap to power your site, but then you would participate in the national BPP. So a benefit that we found important, particularly as the boards of MLSs are deciding how they're going to work within their budget to support the various endeavors that they want to be a part of. Here's an example quickly of an MLS branded website. So wisconsinhomes.com, they had value built up in wisconsinhomes.com. They were spending money on it, and they felt like BPP is probably a more important initiative for them to participate in, but they'd like to figure out how to maintain Wisconsin Homes if they could. And so we are powering that for them. And the great thing is that any inquiries now from Wisconsin Homes or from homesnap.com, which is the national portal, all of those go direct to the agent in HomeSnap Pro, and everything is managed in one place. I touched on integration with MLS software providers. And so, our goal, beyond creating a great portal is we're providing HomeSnap Pro. We think it's all one platform, and we know agents' lives are simpler and more productive if they can do more when they're on the go from their phones. And so we've started the process, and we are doing this on our dime, not a charge to the MLS. We'll make this investment as the BPP partner. With Paragon, we've done a level of integrations with Dyna Connections, which works with MRED, for example. We're doing some integrations there, and we're actively talking to other MLS software providers. In fact, the big ones that you're aware of. And, so if it's something you're interested in, you should tell your MLS software provider. And, particularly if you do the BPP, we want it to be part of your offering and make it work and be more valuable for you. So the broker benefits, I've mentioned many of these throughout, what I've said already today. You know, HomeSnap as the brand of the BPP is a national portal that already attracts millions of users each month. And because we're making the investments that I mentioned before, it will grow from month to month. It runs under and is governed by, frankly, industry friendly people, and the rules are very industry friendly. It is run by the people who sell homes, not ads. One of the benefits that is tangible and very valuable is that we offer branding throughout the HomeSnap and HomeSnap Pro platform for brokers. And what that means, you know, there's a very small setup fee, and what we do is we drop the branding of the broker into the HomeSnap platform, so that whenever consumers are looking at it, at their listings, whenever their agents are seen, whenever something related to the broker shows up, whether it's an agent or listing, their branding is there. And so that has significant value as consumers and agents use the platform. They'll see the broker branding, and that's something ongoing month to month that is free to all brokers. Of course, you know, HomeSnap Pro is provided to the agent subscribers, but brokers also get an addition, a version of it for themselves as well, and their office managers as well. Brokers get dashboards which shows how their agents are using HomeSnap Pro. It's a great management tool. It allows brokers to see, you know, which agents are taking advantage of HomeSnap Pro, inviting their clients, and, you know, helps them look at their business, you know, in that way. We also have some premium features, as I mentioned, in HomeSnap Pro, where we are able to send, you know, automated ads if a broker wants, on, you know, the various platforms, the large platforms, Facebook, Google, Instagram, and Waze. Finally, we offer a mobile solution with a best-in-class product. You know, many brokers have already made an investment in a mobile product, and we're not here to replace that. This is a complementary product. Some brokers do choose to just make HomeSnap the main product, and they, you know, now that their branding is in there, but it is meant to be complementary. It is at its core, HomeSnap Pro, a productivity app for agents connected to the MLS data, makes their agents more productive from the field. Lastly, I've touched on these. The specific agent gets significant benefits. They all get HomeSnap Pro through the BPP offering for free. They have the ability to invite all of their clients, and what that means is they can invite their clients to work with them in HomeSnap. If the client accepts their invitation, then when the client uses the app, all of their inquiries go directly to their agent. That's what brokers and agents expect. And so what we have is a great balance here of an environment where agents can invite their clients and feel comfortable in a product which is better than the national portals because it is powered by the comprehensive MLS data. And so you have that, but you also have the consumer side where independent consumers, you know, see the listing agents and the leads go to them. Leads will go
Hey,
straight.
Steve, can I?
Yes.
We have a question. I'm going to jump in for a second. Sorry.
Yep.
When there's auto search campaigns that go out, right? That a client can be set up through an agent. Isn't there a way too that they can talk, like they can text back and forth, even if they're not actually in the mind to buy or sell at this point? They just have a question about the market.
Absolutely. You know, for those, and we'll say at the end here, that want a demonstration of the technology and the product, we're obviously more than happy to do that. One of the great features that Marilyn referenced in HomeSnap is there's a messaging client built in where, you know, clients and their agents can communicate back and forth about anything and referencing specific properties. And so this is a true messaging client built in that allows back and forth communication, and it is organized in such a way that when an agent is communicating, they can look historically at all the conversations and properties that they've talked about with that particular client. So it's a very cool feature, and I'm glad you asked about it. Okay, so you know, other benefits. The app has been awarded many times by both Apple and Google with you know, the highest ranking and reviews it can get. Every season or home buying season in the spring, for example, Apple does what they call their Home Sweet Home collection, and it's their recommended apps for the home buying season, which they label, you know, the spring. And they usually include 5 apps. And for the last, gosh, 5 years, 4 or 5 years, HomeSnap has been one of them. That's a great example of taking advantage of the national exposure of HomeSnap that a local app couldn't get. Our data is all, you know, our listing data is all from the MLS, so it's accurate, comprehensive, timely. It's a great search experience, very clean, no third-party ads. Very different from the experience they'll get in the other national advertising portals. Our kind of signature feature, which you know, we got a lot of press about several years back when we launched, was you literally can use the app to take a picture of any home, and it will tell you all about that home. And if it's for sale, it'll actually bring up the complete listing. Of course, it works without snapping. You can be in your office, you can be in your car, and you can search on a map or type in an address, whatever, but that's a cool feature. Updates are sent on new listings and status changes in real time, as you'd expect. And you know, there's just connections, as you just described, either with your agent or the listing agent. And then, you know, and it also allows for groups to share listings and photos with one another. So, for example, if a couple, if they're looking at houses, they can share things back and forth amongst themselves and with their agent. So all sorts of benefits for consumers. I wanted to quickly note that you know, since we raised the investment, you know, the capital which I referenced, we're building out our team in many areas to support our industry-friendly portal and pro apps. And one of the things we're doing with that is we've hired a significant training staff to train MLS's brokers and agents about HomeSnap and HomeSnap Pro and how to best put them to use in their marketplaces. So you can see here all the things we're doing, but this has had a huge impact just in the few months we've been doing it. So you can feel very confident that if you decide to join the BPP, the MLS itself will get significant training. The brokers will get training, and individual agents will have opportunity to get training on all the features of the app, how to promote it in the marketplace, how to work with clients. We maintain also a library of videos. Each MLS gets their own university, we call it, you know, HomeSnap University. So lots of training, which we think is important so that everyone in the marketplace can take full advantage of the BPP offering. So I've described the various benefits, again, both strategic and practical, and you know, here is the cost. It's very simple, $1 per agent per month at the MLS level. And you know, we think there is massive strategic value, which I've described, where, quite frankly, when I and my colleagues meet with boards of MLSs who ultimately decide this, the strategic is very important. But we also know that there are, again, are real budgetary things, and there has to be value. And so we think we've over-delivered on the value. So there's the real value of the leads themselves. There is the you know, broker branding that is put into the platform. So, and of course, there's HomeSnap Pro itself, which you know, on its own is hugely valuable as really a primary extension of the MLS for agents in the field. So, you know, we think we're delivering significant value at this price, and you know, we think MLSs have embraced that due to the success we've had so far. So this is a heat map which reveals the penetration. We have 160 plus MLSs that are part of HomeSnap, which is the face of the BPP. Here are some very recent or relatively recent members or MLSs that have joined, but you can see the heat map where we are. The middle of the country, as you know, is not as populated, and so we've done a great job of covering the densely populated areas in the country, and certainly done a great job of getting the support of major MLSs around the country. But our goal is to have everyone be a part of this, and so the heat map still will show not as much heat in the middle because there's not as many people there, but we want to keep going. And so for those on this call, whether you're a broker or an MLS executive, we want to talk to you about how we can come to your marketplace and help you be a part of this important movement. Next slide, please.
Okay, so actually, before we jump over to Tom, we have a few questions that I wanted to ask you to answer for us, Steve, and then we'll jump to Tom and over to John as well. So first question was, who owns HomeSnap? And I guess maybe you did talk a little bit about this, but maybe talk about the joint venture of how the ownership works and how the control of where the company goes works.
Yes, sure, happy to do that. And it's pretty simple. So there is Broker Public Portal, LLC, which is all industry. And that is the group that got together starting a few years ago, thinking that they wanted to create their own presence, again, have a portal where they control the rules. And then there's HomeSnap Inc. HomeSnap Inc. is a real estate technology company. We have, had both consumer products and pro products that serve the real estate industry, and are historically and currently our clients are primarily MLSs. And so when Broker Public Portal LLC decided they wanted to get a partner for this, they put out an RFP, as I mentioned, and HomeSnap Inc. submitted a proposal, and over the course of many months we emerged as the choice. And so a joint venture was formed that between HomeSnap Inc. and Broker Public Portal LLC. It is 50-50 owned, but the governance of it is majority industry. So the main purpose of that is to ensure that the public-facing side of HomeSnap runs according to the rules that are favorable to the industry. And I didn't necessarily answer your direct question, which is who owns HomeSnap Inc. Again, we're the joint venture partner of the BPP in this. We're owned by a number of shareholders, investors, and employees. I mentioned we have $14 million. That came primarily, almost exclusively, from venture capital investors who have invested in our company, and those people are well aware, because they've reviewed our joint venture documents, of the restrictions that we have going forward. So this group of investors is squarely behind and in the camp that there is huge potential for a brand, HomeSnap in this case, that will stay true and loyal to the industry and can at the same time be a very valuable company. And so that's what our investors believe. That's what I believe as a founder, and the management team I work with believe. But to answer your question specifically, HomeSnap Inc., owned by both investors and employees, joint venture partner with Broker Public Portal LLC, which is all industry.
So just for me, it's kind of exciting because you've been able to capture venture capital money without having to sit on the backs of brokers and agents. So in other words, most other venture capital funded companies are advertising driven, right? And that's where they make their money. You're venture capital backed, but you're not doing that, which is like good for you guys. You figured out something that's pretty exciting for the industry, in my opinion. But
yeah, we appreciate it, and it was very important. And so, not to bore anyone with the details, but when you go out and raise money with investors, they do massive amounts of due diligence, reading all your contracts, and very specific in our agreements with the BPP, and we were upfront about this with everyone we talked to, is that we can't do the things that you might be seeing out there with Zillow and Realtor, for example. That is categorically off the table. But there is a huge opportunity to partner with the industry, because our philosophy is that in order to compete in today's real estate technology environment, the scale and resources that are required, frankly, are beyond what any single agent or broker likely could ever hope to do. We have prior to 14 million, we had significant investment as well. So we have close to $25 million that will be invested, and we may get more investment. We haven't decided that. We don't need to right now. But the idea is then that money can be put to use for the benefit of these smaller entities, MLSs and brokers that again never could, for example, build a multi-platform app website and keep up with the technology. And we have 50 developers and engineers who every day are making the platform better and better. So and hiring all the time. So thanks for asking me.
Here's a quick one, and I think this is important because of the branding. So the industry knows this initiative is called the Broker Public Portal, but that's not a very consumer-friendly name, right? That sounds like something that an industry would build. So someone asked the question, how do consumers find the BPP with HomeSnap? Can you just explain how BPP is not actually being shown to consumers? It's actually the HomeSnap brand that they're seeing?
Yeah, that's right. That's a great question. Internally, and actually this group and many others in the industry will see here in the next few weeks, we're rolling out an industry specific website. We have one already, as many people know, at brokerpublicportal.com, but Broker Public Portal is really the industry name for it because that's what people have known, and that's kind of the internal brand within the industry. But when the Broker Public Portal was deciding how to roll out a national brand to consumers, they thought what Marilyn mentioned, that that isn't really a name or a presence that would resonate with consumers. And we already had built up a brand, particularly on the mobile side, that had significant traffic and awareness among consumers already. And we committed with that brand already, but we formally committed in a legal way with the Broker Public Portal deal to make it to run like the Broker Public Portal wanted. So they licensed our brand. Broker Public Portal essentially has licensed our consumer brand to make sure it runs the way they want it forever. And so how consumers will learn about it is, the Broker Public Portal, because it's industry friendly, has huge advantages. So I referenced already that agents invite clients to work with them in HomeSnap. When you think about it, no agent would ever say to their client, work with me in Zillow or Realtor, because there are other agents in that environment. Some might, but that wouldn't be very smart. And so we literally have had millions of agents already, hundreds of thousands of agents invite millions of consumers and clients to work with them in HomeSnap. So that's one way we get the word out. Another way is with the SEO I mentioned, and then of course the national coverage. So there's a lot of things we're doing that build up the brand that the other portals really couldn't take advantage of, and we're seeing the results every month. Traffic is growing.
So in effect, Broker Public Portal is like a holding company. It's not a brand that it's like there's HomeSnap is the product that people see. Broker Public Portal is like the corporate name, if we wanted to use an analogy. Is that a fair analogy?
Yeah, and I probably went off track and answered more than was, but that's right. Broker Public Portals, the internal, how we talk about it in the industry, and honestly, how MLSs and brokers talk about it with their agents and community. But HomeSnap is the brand.
Right. Got it. Okay, cool. All right. Well, thank you so much, Steve. We may come back to you with some other questions, but I'm going to switch it over to Tom and over to John Dealey now. Thank you guys for being with us today. We really appreciate your time. And we wanted to just get a reality check from you about Northwest MLS and the experience that you've had. And I'm going to start with a little bit of a zinger, but I know you guys can handle it. So for those that are in the industry, they may be aware that Seattle historically, in the Northwest MLS region, the brokers in that market specifically, were really not interested in MLS consumer-facing websites. And yet they're very, very excited about what's going on with the Broker Public Portal and HomeSnap. Can you tell me about how that all came about? Maybe, Tom, you could start with that one, and then John will jump to you in a second.
Hopefully you can hear me okay. This is Tom Hurtlebrink.
Yep.
I'm the CEO of Northwest MLS, been here 11 years. And yes, we look at the portal industry with great trepidation. We're a broker-owned cooperative MLS with 2,000 firms. And those 2,000 firms, roughly 2,000 firms, have 30,000 agents. In our state, everyone's called a broker, but there's 30,000, almost 31,000 subscribers now of Northwest MLS. It covers 23 counties, virtually 2/3 of the state of Washington. And since we are an MLS that's broker-owned and broker-driven, if you will, we're interested in promoting opportunities that allow for our members to interface with the consumer, not a third party, and not even a MLS consumer-facing website, which Northwest MLS built one in 1995, and then we were asked to reduce the visibility of that, and so because that sort of conflicted with the brands that the brokerage firms were trying to build for themselves. In the past, Northwest MLS did provide listings to the Realtor.com when that came around in the late 90s, and Microsoft Home Advisor, which at the time in the early 2000s was the other largest competitor to Realtor.com. Northwest MLS did not want to necessarily just bet on one horse, if you will, and support one company. But then over time, Microsoft Home Advisor went away. Other portals came and left, and what was left by the early 2000s, 2003, 4, 5, and 6 was Realtor.com. And the members here believed that Realtor.com was becoming more of a destination site, not a site that was forwarding quality leads to the firms. And so Northwest MLS really stopped its contract, or lit the contract lapse with Realtor.com, but we grandfathered in the firms that were already providing listings to Realtor.com. And ever since then, we've never pursued a syndication agreement with a portal. However, due to the growth and the power of the Zillows and the Trulias, and of course Realtor.com, vis-a-vis the declining consumer capture rate for brokerage branded websites, we recognized around 2014 was around the right time that we recognized when the Broker Public Portal initiative was getting some legs in terms of communication. And we were supportive of the concept of a consumer-facing portal that would be owned and or operated or controlled with much more input from the brokerage industry. What was also interesting was the Broker Public Portal had participants as founding members from MLSs. So our two biggest firms in the marketplace in Northwest MLS, two biggest brands, were Windermere and John L. Scott, and they contributed some seed money to the Broker Public Portal initiative, and so did Northwest MLS when we raised the topic to our board of directors. So the industry here was generally supportive of whatever could help raise or preserve the stature of the brokerage firms and their reputation with the consumers. A sidebar note of something that I shared with the board back then, I had attended a conference of the American Society of Association Executives, which is a trade association if you will, for trade association people like me. And they had a conference in Nashville in 2014, their annual meeting. And it was just coincidental when Broker Portal was coming along that I was at this conference, and one of the featured 1-hour sessions they had at their convention was about leaders from the Country Music Association, CMA. You're thinking, okay, Tom, what are you talking about? What was interesting was this panel discussion of the CMA leadership included the executive director, members of the board of directors of the CMA, and their topic was the challenges that their industry has gone through in order to manage themselves through a dramatic decline in their financial structure. Because as you can imagine, music went from, people buying records or CDs or albums to streaming, including Napster, which basically allowed for music to be streamed for virtually free. And so songwriters, their board of directors is a large board, 70-some people. They have 2 people on their board from the Songwriters Guild, the Producers Guild, the musicians themselves, the radio industry, and all these different groups. And they had very high energy board of director meetings while their industry was crashing and burning. So imagine an industry that today generates 1/200th of the revenue that they used to generate 20 years ago. And I listened to this panel in just complete awe and shock, and had the opportunity to talk to the fellow on the panel who owned a streaming music company, and you could see the tension in the room while he's talking with Bob Borchetta, the largest, one of the publishing houses that actually is Taylor Swift's label, and watching the revenue stream of these companies go down while his streaming business is going up. And I asked these guys after the panel, do they know much about real estate, and do they understand how realtor associations and MLSs work? And they chuckled and they said, oh yeah, we bought some properties. We know what that's all about. We know what the MLS is. And I said, so I'm in the business of running an MLS, trying to preserve the brokerage firm's role in the eyes of the consumer. And what can an industry do to not have to go through what you did? And they both said there's only one answer, and your members need to get control, run their own service, and not use another company, because they will take you down. And I was like, wow. So I reported that to our board right at the same time the Broker Public Portal was coming. And sure, the Broker Public Portal may not be perfect in our eyes, but it does, have the goal of meeting the fair display guidelines, which we were a contributor to some of the concepts there. Northwest MLS does not have a consumer-facing search. We already had an existing app, but the app was only designed for our members. It was not a consumer-facing app. But we knew we needed to do something to be able to offer our members a tool to compete with consumers. And we didn't know when Broker Public Portal was created that it was going to turn into the HomeSnap app. But it turned out it was pretty successful in its design. And then I'll turn it over to John a little bit, because what we did in 2017 is when we saw that the Broker Public Portal was really being manifest in the HomeSnap app, even though we already had an app, we brought that to a key group of firm owners and brokers. We kind of used it as an advisory group of about 12 to 15 people to talk about our data strategies. And we brought it to that group. John Deely, do you want to make any notes about how that conversation went?
Yes, thank you. And it was kind of like Tom throwing me into this group was like throwing red meat into a den of hungry lions. And there, as he had mentioned, the attitude in our marketplace had always been where the individual firms wanted to maintain particularly the large firms wanted to maintain the consumer direct to their website, and so that was kind of their mantra. And I'd heard stories about the different battles that went on in the board of directors, but this had gone on for quite some time. And so the board of directors put together an advisory group, and Tom put me in as the chair of that advisory group, and it contained the 3 largest firms, and then other members of smaller independent and even solo type firms and technology based companies. So the general there was a lot of debate in those meetings, but the general consensus was that we needed to do something to level the playing field with technology. And of course, in Seattle, here I'm in the heart of Seattle. I'm looking out my window at a couple million feet that Amazon has leased up and is building more, and we have major real estate technology companies within a stone's throw of my office. So I'm on the board. I'm a managing broker with our firm. I have an office of about 90 agents, and then 2 satellite offices through the core of the city with an additional 25 agents in those 2 offices. So I'm dealing day to day with the battles that the agents are facing out there. And what was happening and across the industry here was that the clients were going out and using other technology companies, both real estate based technology companies, and then companies like Zillow, and they were using their apps, and so it was apparent that we had lost a lot of contact with our clients. Of course, the clients would use those apps and come back, but we really needed a tool that would give us the flexibility and the pieces of technology that the consumers in our marketplace, and I feel largely across the U.S. demand in terms of mobile technology. And for any individual company, and even for the MLS, even though we have a very healthy MLS, and we still could not compete in both getting the platform developed, but then keeping up with the changes in technology. So the members of the task force recommended, after reviewing the product, that we move ahead with it, and that's the story of getting there, and these formerly voracious members that did not want any of their potential customers and clients going through anybody but their firm, realized the importance of putting this mobile technology in the hands of their brokers to distribute to their clients, and that was a winning formula.
That's awesome. So we're getting close to the top of the hour, but I did have one more question for you. So, John, you're into it now for a few months. Do you feel like it, as a broker, has it been a good thing, and has it been incremental to any mobile efforts that you already did as a brokerage yourself?
Well, it's the adoption rate with brokers is very difficult. Over the years in running offices, if we can get to with tools, if we can get to a 20% adoption rate fairly quickly, we consider that a success. And so we're right now we're probably, in my office, I'm probably at about a 50% adoption rate. Not, and all of the brokers use it differently. So it's I guess, to try to answer your question, in one sense, it's augmented the ability for agents to do social media buys. So that aspect of the tool, there's a lot of different tools within the product that different agents use for different purposes. And so, universally, does everybody use all of the tools? No, but each of the agents seem to find different aspects of it that they like. And, you know, generally I've had no rejection of the tool once agents are on it. I know people saying this is bad and why did they do this?
Got it. So bottom line, you were board chair at the time, I think, when you selected it, right?
Right.
If you had to do it again, would you do it again?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, our Tom, I forget what our adoption rate was or has been with the product ramp up, but it was one of the fastest that we've had. And I don't.
We did a lot of promotion, and we also had membership meetings, which we do a number of times a year. And we sort of timed our launch with the promotion of member meetings and a blitz of office trainings and webinars. And HomeSnap was great in providing a lot of content. So within 60 days, we had virtually a 50% adoption rate, which means out of, at the time, 28,000 subscribers, we had 15,000 people access the app, 15,000 individual users access the app within 60 days. Most of them maintained it. What's interesting to me is there's always a third of our members who don't do any business anyway. So if you actually get to 50%, that's just a huge adoption of any tool. And the other mobile app we had before HomeSnap, HomeSnap actually jumped over the adoption rate of the prior existing app, and that all happened in 60 days.
That's amazing. Well, thanks, guys. It sounds like you've had some great luck, and I hope it continues to go. And being in Seattle, of all places, where you have some pretty large online marketing competitors, I'm sure you're happy that that's working well. So let's jump over to Jeff now. Jeff is the COO at MRED in Chicago. Welcome, Jeff. Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure.
So why don't you tell us about the adoption and engagement you've seen in your market? It's obviously a very different market than Seattle, but how's it working so far for you?
Yeah, you know, we've really had a terrific experience with HomeSnap. Through August, I think we're up to about 57% adoption. That's up over 23,000 agents. Also, we're averaging about 720 new agents registering per month. Now, again, this is for MRED. This is really significant, big numbers, as Tom just mentioned. For any of our products or services to get that kind of adoption, it's humongous. And I also wanted to note that we've had almost 1.6 million invitations to HomeSnap that have been sent out by our customers to their clients throughout our marketplace. And we've had more than 500,000 accept the invitation. So that's more than 500,000 members of the public that have accepted the invitation. 3.2 million consumer sessions, 40,000 leads generated, you know, and so you talk about, you know, these are really great numbers. We're really happy with the return on our investment in HomeSnap for our customers.
I think you were also in a market where MLS consumer websites were a big no. How did it get that BPP became something in your market, and how did your brokers get excited about it?
Yeah, you know, I think it was the notion that the industry needed its own initiative, that the brokers controlled. That's what carried the day in our marketplace. I was lucky enough to be involved with the early meetings, again, putting this thing together, and I was surprised to see a number of the brokerages that had always objected to us having a public-facing presence in attendance at the early BPP meetings. Frankly, many of the brokers, when I say I've spoken to brokers, we do a couple of times a year an NPS survey where we get feedback about our products and services, of course. And a lot of our brokerages felt like they were essentially over the barrel with these large third-party aggregator sites. They feel that like the mere existence of the broker public portal is an alternative that kind of keeps these guys in line and gives them a real alternative should these guys engage in any kind of you know, pricing or other kinds of behavior that they really would want to consider an alternative. So I think that was really powerful. I do have to say though, Marilyn, that if HomeSnap wasn't a great app, if it was just a mediocre app, I don't think that would have sustained the support that it's received. I think it really is a combination of the great app and the great industry initiative that have done the trick here.
It's great. Yeah, it's a combination of that #1 rating and having that kind of consumer presence really makes a big difference for sure. Now, one of the things that that MRED's brokers approved, and maybe you can tell us a little bit how that happened, but they decided to take it even one more step and try to go for a consumer outreach campaign. Maybe why don't you tell us how that came about, and then you can walk us through in the next couple slides what that campaign is. You know, you're just rolling it out, but what it looks like.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. You know, it was, again, this was something that was initiated at our board. And when I say that, our board's made up of brokerages. We're a broker-owned MLS. And as a result of that, you know, these were people that were literally involved in the decision-making process about BPP in the first place. And then they decided that, hey, if we're going to make this commitment to this industry initiative, what we really need to do is also make a commitment to telling the consumer about it, supporting BPP and HomeSnap, and letting the consumer know, you know, about this great app. And obviously, you know, they weren't doing it just because they like BPP HomeSnap. They were doing it because they felt it would really benefit their agents themselves in a net bottom line way. So what's developed out of all of this, and basically what BPP and HomeSnap have is like a two-pronged approach. And I know Steve already talked about the agent approach, which is our next slide if you want to go to that. And so I'm not going to read this to you, but obviously agents telling their own clients about this and sending them a branded, you know, an app that's branded to them is obviously very, very effective. But if you want to go to the next slide, then I can talk about, you know, what we have going with a consumer direct outreach. And as you can see up on the screen, there's a number of different ways that the decision's been made to approach. And I really need to emphasize this. You know, you could do any kind of campaign that you want, but think about the fact that, you know, we don't have millions of dollars. Nobody has millions of dollars to throw at this thing. So how do you do this in a very cost-effective fashion without, you know, while you're working against these third-party aggregators with their TV-centric, you know, strategies, things like that. So it was just really important that we had a plan, we worked the plan, and above everything else, what we're doing is targeting the most engaged and interested people. You know, what we're not doing is this rifle shot spraying of ads everywhere. You know, kind of like the old days of having a farm area and sending postcards to everybody, right? You know, you don't want to do that. It's just not the most cost-effective thing to do. So we're making efforts to target the people that we think would be most interested or have use for the app. Yet also what we're doing is we're, you know, doing marketing that's measurable, you know, testable. It's basically what we want to do is continue what works, right, and drop what doesn't work. So I think that's very, very effective. Agents are able to support it very easily in their social media. And, you know, Marilyn, as has been mentioned a couple of times already, HomeSnap's the #1 rated app in what? The Apple Store, Google Play. It's already optimized for success. So we just really need to point them to it, you know, point consumers to it, build the awareness, and hopefully the word of mouth will take it from there.
Yeah, maybe you can just talk a little bit about I just put on the ads, that kinds of things that are being tested right now.
Yeah, and when I say the neat thing about the ads that are being tested is that while it's, again, the bottom line benefit is obviously to the agents, our customers, but you'll note in these ads that it's MLS-centric advertising. Everybody's understanding the notion that what they're being provided is real-time MLS listings. And so it keeps us in the middle of this, but at the same time, you know, with the understanding, you know, as was talked about earlier, nobody really knows about BPP, and we want to make sure that people understand the value of the MLS and all of this, but net bottom line, save millions of dollars over the, you know, around the country, and really start getting the dollars back into our agents' pockets.
Gotcha. So someone asked the question earlier, how does a consumer find HomeSnap? They can find it on the app stores, which you just talked about, but then in these kinds of campaigns, you're reaching out to them through local news channels and email blasts and a variety of different sources so that they can you push it to them as well as them having to find it on the App Store, right?
Yeah, and as with any effective campaign, you're going to use a number of different ways of doing it. Whether again, it's all local. Like in Chicago, we're using WGN as an example, but people would be able to take this and tailor it to their local communities. We plan, as this gets developed and as this eventually is proven effective, and we've got a way of doing this, that maybe just the general outlay of this might be useful for other MLSs around the country to be able to get this kick-started and going on their end as well.
So obviously MRED is behind this. You're the first one that signed up for it. But what advice do you have for MLSs that, just that for whatever reason haven't signed up yet, or don't, just haven't gone there yet? What advice do you want to give to them about why it's time for them to be part of this?
From my perspective, I think that, and I'm not minimizing in any way, shape, or form the industry initiative, and I think it's important to be involved and support our industry initiatives, but from an MLS perspective, you're always looking at presenting a value proposition to your customers, your members. You can help your real estate professionals make more money by using HomeSnap and by focusing your marketing and your efforts as an agent on HomeSnap rather than spending a ton of money at on the other portals. So that simply is what I would say.
Okay, and John, will I ask you the same question? From a broker perspective, if you're, one of your other fellow Coldwell Banker brands is in another region and they haven't yet signed up for HomeSnap or Broker Portal in their market, what would you say to them?
I think that the array of tools that are available for the individual agents to customize to their own style of business is one of the most important aspects of the program. And so, I'll have some agents that'll do the social media buy. I have other agents that will utilize the tool at open houses in order to engage clients and get their contact information and set them up. Some agents use it to simply to kind of keep up with, socially what's going on in their market area with other agents. They'll use it to, I had an agent just last week. We've had, really aggressive market out here with multiple offers, and one agent was getting ready to present a multiple offer where there were 10 other offers on the property, and he used the feature in the program that allows them to look at other connections with the agent, the listing agent, and he used that tool, found out the other connections, talked with the agents in our office that have been involved with them, then brought that up with the listing agent and started a social rapport with them right out of the gate, and he feels it was one of the reasons why he won in the multiple offer over others. So there's just a lot of different ways to use the tool.
Okay, Tom, final. What's your feeling about why MLSs should get on board and work with you guys like all the other markets that have already signed up?
So I've always believed the MLS is one of the greatest inventions by the real estate community. It is a true cooperative. It's brokers helping brokers make sure that consumers have a really super positive transaction buying and selling homes. And we don't have the capacity, even in Seattle at our MLS, for the money and the talent and the resources that are needed to build world-class tools to enable our members to do the best that they can do for their clients. And what's great to me about Broker Public Portal is it is about making the brokerage be more successful in helping consumers. And it's speaking on behalf of the brokerage community. It's not just some other third-party portal. So that's kind of where we've always wanted it to be, and it seems to be working in the right direction.
Awesome. Well, for those that want to learn more about Broker Public Portal, Eugene Gligor is well attuned to give you demos, to walk you through the story again, answer any questions you have about ownership or business models or how the program works or how the joint venture works or any of those things. He can answer all those for you. We also will be sending a recording of today's session, and we'll include resources for you in that email back to you. Of course, a recording of what we're seeing today, but also resources if you want to learn more about this, or if you want to you want to understand the training that's available, the promotion and marketing, the support that you're going to be getting from HomeSnap. As you heard, it sounds like they do a great job with that. And from there, go from there. And if you have any other questions, anybody that's on the call, I'm sure Tom Hurtlebrink would take them, Jeff would take them. John, I won't offer your name up, but I know the other two will. And we'll go from there. But again, thanks to everyone that attended today. Hopefully this was helpful. And again, if you have any questions, reach out to Eugene and he'll be able to answer them for you. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.